Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, head currency analyst. In this video, we're going to go through the week ahead analysis. We're going to go through the news coming up this week and some charts of interest for us. So going through the news in terms of data, again, not a huge amount of data coming out in the markets, but we do have some big data. And we're going to kick off the week with some Euro data. We've got some Germany PMI, manufacturing and services coming out. Obviously, the Euro has been weak for some time now, and this data is forecast to be negative. Now, COVID cases in Europe are rising. We've seen Austria go into lockdown over the weekend. So European countries could be coming under particular pressure if COVID cases continue to rise around Europe. There could be some downside or some negativity from that. Obviously, we had some data out of Europe, the ECB last week as well, which was negative. So we've known for some time that the euro is a weaker currency. The strength meter has highlighted that. We've talked about it on numerous occasions, and it looks like that is going to continue. We did hint that there could be a little bit of a reversal opportunity on euro US dollar, but that was very much dependent on if we were to see some kind of just profit taken from the US dollar, which we didn't see in the end, and dollar maintained its bullishness. Kiwi this week is going to be interesting. We have a interest rate decision. It looks like the RBNZ are forecast to raise interest rates by 25 basis points up to 0.75%. This could be a positive or a negative for the market. We don't know how the market is going to take this information. Obviously, usually what we see with these kind of planned events is that the market has already priced it in. So we could be seeing a little bit more downside to Kiwi. However, the market is at a crucial structure point, so it'd be interesting to see how this market plays out this week. But what we'd sort of suggest is wait for that news to be digested before looking for those trading opportunities on Kiwi. GDP data out of the US expected or forecast to be better. Again, what I'm kind of looking for is this number to be either met or at least be significantly stronger. That will keep me on the side of being bullish US dollar. I think we should be bullish US dollar anyway. It is the strongest currency at the moment, but we may see a little bit of pullbacks in the market. But if the GDP data comes out quite strong or quite positive, then we could see a continuation of the dollar being bullish. Now, recently the data out of the US has jumped quite significantly. The CPI data has been good. Retail sales has jumped quite significantly. So we could see the same happen here with the GDP. And I think if it comes in above 2.2%, then we could see a dollar remaining strong. Other things to watch out for this week: there is a bank holiday in the US. It's Thanksgiving this Thursday, so you need to be a little bit careful. I think the Thursday, Friday volatility will be quite low. So if you are trading sort of stock markets or things like that, then you may want to consider watching how you trade those days. Moving on then, so let's jump onto the strength meter. The strongest currency of last week was the Japanese yen. You can see here that we climbed from this -4 up to +3s, and this is reflected here in the strength meter. You can see that white line there moving back to the upside. And if the trend continues for the majority of yen pairs, then we could see the yen continue to gain further strength. What's interesting, we have strength in the US dollar, obviously, as well. We've talked about this for some time. But now the dollar is at an extreme level now. Usually when the markets or currencies hit this +5 area, you can see previously, the market does take a slight dip. That's why I said earlier in the video that we could could see a potential pullback in the US dollar, just in terms of how sort of, if the market does kind of take some profits, or we see some kind of negative GDP, which is unlikely, but if it was to be seen, then that would obviously drive the US dollar lower as well. But we'd just have to be careful and look for those key technical opportunities that would suggest that this dollar is not going to remain strong. I think we probably could see an increase here for the dollar, but we'll see how this week plays out. The weakest currency was actually the Swiss franc. That was actually one of the strongest on the strength meter last week in terms of positioning, but it has dropped significantly. So really speaking, dollar Swiss long would probably be an opportunity to look at. Swiss yen short would be an opportunity as well, just off the top of my head looking at the strength meter. We're not going to focus on those currencies there. We'll look at those in the week, but we could see that those currencies kind of play against each other. But that's the strength meter. Going on to the dollar index then, we can see that obviously dollar dominance here. The market is really in that sort of bullish mode on this weekly time frame. That's creating a strong upward trend on the 4-hour time frame. If this 4-hour trend remains, we should remain bullish on this market. We are kind of hovering around this $96 level, which is kind of the next sticking point for the US dollar. I think maybe we'll sort of sideways move until that GDP data. If the GDP data is positive, we could see another rally to the upside on the US dollar going into this week. So keep an eye on that. We've got Kiwi, obviously, is a big one, so I've kind of highlighted Kiwi because, and what I've highlighted is last week's high and last week's low. The reason I've highlighted that is because we're in this kind of channel on Kiwi US dollar, and it looks like we could, or what I would like to watch is how prices react this week. Are we going to see sellers remain after the announcement of a rate hike, or are we going to see the market rally to the upside and favour that New Zealand dollar? Now, if the dollar remains strong, then we're either going to sort of move sideways or continue its downward path. If the US dollar starts to weaken and the market takes this as a positive, we could see some moves to the upside. So I've highlighted 0.7080 and 0.6979. A breakout of these would be interesting for me on the terms of looking for an opportunity. Going on to Euro Yen then, I've highlighted Euro Yen because Euro is one of the weakest currencies, Yen one of the strongest. We've had some huge downside in this market, especially last week. I think a lot of people would have tried to have bought in here, especially retail traders would have looked to have bought in here and looked to have traded that to the upside. That would have been obviously a very negative trade for them as price has dropped. And we're now retesting 128.30s. We could see a slight reaction from here because price has reacted from here in the past. I think we're going to see some slight downside, not too much though. I think, we could get kind of a bearish reaction from the previous structure lows on the 4-hour down to this 127 area or 128. If price does change trend and we do start to see sort of a breakout of this downward move that we're seeing, then maybe we could see some short-term upside back to sort of 130. But Euro Yen still looking for that downside here. Finally, we're going to talk about crude oil. Basically, we talked about this in the last couple of week ahead analysis or Forex market wraps. I like this market a lot because we are in a long-term uptrend. Now, what you actually typically see with oil is that it kind of correlates with, or well, it doesn't kind of, it does correlate with the stock markets. And we've seen the stock markets kind of bounce back from the couple of down weeks that it had. Last week was quite positive, mainly due to sort of good US data again. And crude oil hasn't really followed that path of how the stocks have rallied. So maybe we're going to see some buyers step back in and around this area. This is a previous structure high on the weekly time frame. It's also quite a high volume area of trading through this point. So we could start to see this market bounce now. We talked about shorting it. in and around here because we were in that retracement phase and the market should create lower lows and lower highs. Now we're at this point where we could start to see buyers come back into the market. We should see a change in trend on the 4 hours. So we have a downward trend here at the moment. If that was to change, if we were to see some kind of bullish reversal patterns form here, like a inverse head and shoulders or double bottom pattern, anything like that suggesting that buyers are stepping back into the oil market, I would happily look for long opportunities at that point in line with this weekly bullish trend. Okay, so keep an eye on oil. Really speaking, crude oil longs are what I'm really looking at this week. I hope you enjoyed the video update. If you did, leave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to watch some more of our Forex content. And I will catch you in the next video. Cheers.